Hello! I hope everyone's having a good fucking day, and today I'm going to be talking about the Black Noise Project Stalag, the band who used mental patients as vocalists. This band's story is extremely controversial and one that has always fascinated me, so let's not waste any time. Before we get into it, I do just have a couple of trigger warnings, and those are going to be for self-harm and suicide, SA, violence, and graphic imagery. Stalag was a Dutch black noise project that formed in 2000, and then in 2007 an extension of the project was formed called Gulag. The band refers to their work as nihilistic misanthropic audio terror. Their sound can be described as a mix of black metal, noise, drone, and ambient. The name Stalag comes from the name of a German concentration camp in World War II called Stalag, and then the name Gulag comes from the name of a Russian concentration camp called a Gulag. The added GH at the end of each name has been confirmed by the band to mean Global Holocaust. The band remains in complete anonymity, so nobody knows who the members are, how many of them there are, or any photos of them. When a fan managed to find them in public and asked for a photo with them, they instead gave him a drawing that was made by one of their patient vocalists in a psychotic state just hours before they committed suicide. They released one EP and 4 full-length albums that they called projects, and these projects consisted of one lengthy song that made up the entirety of the album. In 2001, they released their first project, Project Nihil, under New Era Productions, and the intent of this album was to spread the message of the listener's pointlessness of existence. In 2004, they released Project Terra, and this was the point that they started using mental patients on their recordings. This sparked up much controversy, and a lot of people felt that they were doing this to profit off of the mentally ill, but that actually could not be further from the truth. When asked about this in an interview, it was revealed that one of the members of the band had been working in a mental institution for a few years and had formed a bond with some of the patients. In order to get permission to do this, they had to write a fake proposal to the hospital that they were creating a conceptual art piece. If the hospital found out what these recordings were actually being used for, the band would get in a ton of trouble, and this is one of the reasons why they have chosen to remain anonymous. Before they signed an agreement, every single patient was told what Stalag was about and what the project was. The band has also mentioned that it was very easy to get these patients to agree to work on the project with them, because a lot of them shared the same worldviews as them. When they were asked why they chose to do such a thing, they said, "The reasoning for recording the mental patients is because the band really wanted the hatred and painful emotions to be real and truly felt." The patients had a range of disorders, from schizophrenia to borderline personality disorder. One patient who suffered from schizophrenia severely hurt himself during the recording of Project Terra, and another one who suffered from anorexia and borderline personality disorder ended up committing suicide just 3 months after. During the recording of Project Terra, one of the patients suffered some uncontrollable homicidal urges and attempted to strangle one of the band members to death. And in the background on the recording, you can hear the sounds in the background if you listen carefully. These patients returned for the recording of the third and final album of the project trilogy, Project Misanthropia. The recording process for the album was extensive and had 3 main steps. First, 7 patients were taken to an abandoned factory where they were recorded. Next, those same patients were recorded in an abandoned monastery. Lastly, in the studio, black metal elements were added, and none of the vocals were post-processed digitally. Many of the patients claimed it was the best therapy that they engaged in, and the band even kept in touch with some of the patients. One patient in particular ended up doing time after he murdered his mother when he was 16 years old. She had over 30 stab wounds, and after the band kept talking to him for a while, he opened up about why he did it. His mother enabled his CSA for years and years and did nothing about it, so one day he just snapped in a psychotic rage. In 2008, the band released their final album under the moniker Stalag, called Pure Misanthropia. The album cover for this album was drawn by one of the patient vocalists who had schizophrenia. In 2007, the band formed another project that was an extension of Stalag called Gulag, In that same year, they released their first album under the moniker titled Vorkuta. On their second album, Kalima, they used deaf people as vocalists. When asked about this in an interview, they said, "As vocalists, we want to use people that were born deaf. Their screams are almost animal-like because they have never heard their own voice. The other interesting thing is that they won't hear the screams of the others, so it'll be much more chaotic. With our earlier recordings, the mental patients reacted to each other, which gave a sense of order. We want to avoid that this time." The group doesn't like to be called musicians or artists because they've claimed that their work is the exact opposite. Stalag is one of the most unique, fascinating projects, and they have quite the story. Would you ever give their material a try? That's all I got for you today. Thank you so much for watching. What metal bands would you like to learn about? All of my links are in my bio, and goodbye and gatekeep.